Hello, everybody. This is Lance Danger speaking, and faster than Negan can say swing, batter, swing. Here comes day 69 of 100 days of making comics. Yes, I'm overly excited and just pumped up that I am actually finally able to do actual work on the laptop and my PC finally. And aside from doing like some more of the flatting and the coloring on my comic of Fred Pearson, the Mighty Warlord, today I was actually able to just sit down, and even though it took me nearly 3 hours, I finally put the navigation buttons on each and every single webcomic I have on my website, enterthedangerzone.weebly.com. And again, I guess that's the perks of having a broken ring finger. It just forces me to slow down and do one little thing at a time instead of trying to do everything at the same time at once in an extent to an extent. So I guess that slowing me down actually makes me a little more productive than when I'm just like jumping all over the place trying to multitask. But anyway, I was able to put every single webcomic, the whole next chapter, previous chapter, current chapter, and index. This is something that I started doing towards the beginning of this hundredth challenge, but obviously, I had to stop not too long ago because of the whole problems I had with the internet and with my computer and PC with the whole Windows 10 update thing. It really messed up with my schedule and my productivity. But now I was able to just sit down and get things done. And it makes me happy that I was able to finally just finish this. Originally, I was only going to like do a handful of the chapters for Warlord at least, but then I just ended up doing it for the whole webcomic section. So yeah, and I don't know if I've gone over all the titles that I've had here and like given a brief synopsis of what it was. I may have done it at some point. I'm sorry if I have. For those who are probably new that haven't watched this video before, or well, not this video, but that hasn't watched my channel before, I'm just going to give like a quick roundup of what is in the webcomic section of my website. Of course, there's Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord. And Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord is a drama superhero fantasy webcomic. And it's essentially my love letter to 90s comics, teen and young adults. Kind of like the Ray, the Tim Drake version of Robin, um, and comics like that. The Kyle Rayner version of Green Lantern. So there's a little like nods and winks to my favorite creators and writers at the time, like Christopher Priest, Jack C. Harris, Scott Lobdell, Fabian Nicieza, Chuck Dixon. So that's pretty much what Warlord is in a way, but I mixed up elements of fantasy and it has a heavier dose on the drama side and the characterization and character development side of things, even though it does have its superhero-y thing and it does have its action portions as well. And then there's Nevermind. Nevermind is an autobiographical strip. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's depressing as hell, sometimes it's just plain weird. and that's how life is sometimes. Towards the tail end of this current version of the hundreds challenge, I do want to start production on the sixth quote unquote season. Each quote unquote season is really just a mini comic, I guess you could call it, consisting of 12 strips each. So, towards the tail end of this challenge, I really want to do the sixth one from beginning to end. And after I finish production on drawing and lettering the 12 strips, then I'll start uploading it on a schedule and whatnot. Clown, the full title really is Alfred Gomez's Clown Rogue Assassin. And it's a character that my good friend Alfred Gomez created. And it kind of spins off from Warlord in a way. Even though this character was created outside that Warlord universe, eventually his story intersected with Warlords, and once I started doing the webcomic, he eventually popped up as well. And this is kind of like the story of how he became a rogue assassin. It's more action driven, more action packed, and it was pretty fun to write and draw this one, even though I detest the artwork, especially in the first chapter. But that's mostly because it was old and I was juggling so many different projects at the time. I have one full chapter and the first couple of pages done, but I want to pick up this mini series. It's only going to be 4 chapters. I want to pick this one up after I finish Exorcist, which I'll get to in a second. The other webcomic that I have here is Chapter 1 of DTF6, which stands for Delta Task Force 6. And this is this webcomic is a psychological sci-fi thriller, and it's kind of like also a love letter to the first animes I watched growing up, like Robotech, Voltron, G-Force, or Battle of the Planets, if you prefer to call it that. But mixed up kind of like with the more introspective and messed up animes like Neon Genesis Evangelion and Rasiphone. Good stuff like that. With a pinch of X-Men and X-Files thrown into the mix as well. And I only did one chapter of this one. Hopefully, I'll be able to continue it at a later time, but I really want to finish other projects first. This title struggled to come out on time many times because I was just juggling too much at the same time, and it became one of those titles that I just had to put on the back burner until I was able to sort everything out, especially since actually this series is a series that I always envisioned someone else doing the artwork and not necessarily myself. Eventually, if I do find another artist somehow to collaborate to do these stories, that would be ideal. But if I have to do it myself, the whole thing, I'm going to have to get a few projects out of the way first. And I really would like for DTF6 to continue because I have to admit it's kind of like one of my pet projects in that sense that I would really like to see handled one day. The Mysterious Exorcist is another character that spun off from the Mighty Warlord webcomic. And he's essentially my Batman. This is going to be just like a one shot special. I might do another one shot special afterwards, like further down the line. This pretty much is my love letter to Batman procedural crime dramas like Law and Order SVU, CIS, CSI, NCIS, and all that good stuff. Kind of mixed in with like the more 90s Batman, like the artwork is kind of like a whole jambalaya of Norm Brayfogle, Frank Miller, and Kelly Jones with a dash of McFarlane and Greg Capullo in there for good measure. And Stupid the Cat, that is a web strip that some of you may be familiar if you watched my previous hundreds challenge. This is the web strip that I finished during the third round of the hundreds comics challenge, and it's just basically my love letter to Heathcliff and Garfield the cat, only slightly more cynical than either of them. And following that is Wepamani Wepito, and that is a Puerto Rican social commentary satire. In English, it would be called The Adventures of Wepamani Wepito. Wepa is a phrase that many Puerto Ricans say kind of like when they're excited or to even say hello, like "Wepa." I always envisioned it like when the tick screams "Spoon, Wepa." So I just pretty much took that phrase and made it into characters somehow. They're two kids like in fourth and sixth grade, two brothers, and pretty much their life in Puerto Rico, and it's just basically mocks everything from politics to the culture to the pop culture in Puerto Rico. And again, it's more social commentary. Oh, and it's a lot more on the comedic side from what I usually do. And following that, last but not least, is the Cannon Girl. Now, the Cannon Girl, I guess, speaks more to my more feminine side, I guess, that many people say that all men have, like, this feminine side. If I do have one or something, this is probably it. I guess I don't know how to really explain that. Um, the Cannon Girl isn't really like a serial story per se. It's more like quotes and phrases, and pretty much that involves whatever this character whose name is Lisbeth, like it's either involves something that she's thinking about introspectively or that she's just commenting to a friend. It's a very like mellow kind of almost ASMR kind of web comic. If I should make that, I should patent that ASMR web comic. It's like very chill. It's just like a web comic to kind of like relax you and make you kind of think about stuff. You know, some people say it's kind of inspirational in a way. I guess it is in some ways. Out of all my web comics, this is probably actually the most critically acclaimed of them for some reason. I don't know, maybe it's because of just that itself. It's definitely my most experimental and one of my more personal web comics. So I want to definitely continue doing this one as well, but I really want to do Nevermind first and actually Webamani Webito, which I had finished towards in the, if I'm not mistaken, Nevermind 5, Webamani Webito 2, and the Cannon Girl 2 were all finished throughout the 100 Days Challenge 2 and 3. So that makes me very happy that I was able to finish those projects during this 100 Days Challenge because they had been dormant for years before that. So I'm really thankful and grateful for this challenge, to kind of motivate me to finally give a proper ending to many of these things that were kind of hanging. Stupid the Cat, as I mentioned before, was a I finally finished in the previous hundreds challenge as well. So that's very good. And it really is a confidence booster to be able to say like I did it. I finally finished it. So, yes, I am going to do Nevermind 6 towards the tail end of this 100th challenge. Wepamani Wepito 3. I believe I had mentioned in the previous 100s that I actually wrote out the entire script for Wepamani Wepito 3, so hopefully I'll start production on that after I finish Nevermind 6. And once I finish those two things, I'll go ahead and do another Canon Girl as well. Though I've been thinking about doing like a Canon Girl novel because I've had this like idea in running around in my mind, but that's better suited for another day. Anyway, this video has gone long enough. Actually, originally I had recorded this video, but it went on for like over 40 minutes. Pretty much just me rambling. I might upload that video someday just for the heck of it, like have it be like a director's cut of this video or something, I guess. If people are interested in hearing how I rambled on for 40 minutes about essentially just the same things that I just said right now. Of course, just going off into wild tangents and whatnot. But anyway, I want to cut this video here because I don't want to like do these too long, and I kind of like the shorter format that I had been doing in this current round of the hundreds videos. And if you're wondering what was going on in the background noise, I was listening to the album Resurrection by Chris Perez Band. That was a very solid album, one of my personal favorite albums. It came out in the late 90s, if I'm not mistaken, 1998 or 99. Um, it was by this musician. His name is Chris Perez, and he is the widow of the Tex-Mex singer Selena. Some of you might know Selena through the biographical movie that Jennifer Lopez played her. She was a big singer that sang a genre of music, of Mexican music, and Chris Perez met her through that music. He was the guitarist for her band, and they got married and whatnot. And after her death, like he kind of like drifted here and there, and then he eventually did this absolutely fantastic rock album called Resurrection, which was pretty much his way of dealing with her death and such. And he is the lead guitarist songwriter on the album. The vocals is done by someone else. It is really, really a good, solid album, and anyone that likes music, I guess I would recommend you to listen to that album if you have some time or you're curious. Like, it's not like completely in Spanish. Like, there's probably only 4 or 5 songs in Spanish, and there's 16 tracks on it. So the majority of the songs are actually in English, and some of the Spanish songs are actually Spanish translations of the English songs. And if I want to compare it to something, I guess the closest thing I can compare it to is that band that came out in the 90s called Fastball. I don't know if anyone remembers Fastball. Like, their biggest album was All the Pain Money Can Buy. It was an album that came out like around 95. No, not 95. I would say around 1997. Like, that's the All the Pain Money Can Buy. That's where the singles The Way, Fire Escape, Out of My Mind all came from. It's one of my all-time favorite albums, and actually listen to that album too if you guys have the time to listen to it. Like, it's at least to me, it's like really just good music, especially like rock music. Some of it kind of borders on the rock pop side, especially the Chris Perez Resurrection album. So anyway, I guess I'm going to cut it here because I don't want it to go too long, like the other video went on for. So here we are, day 69, 100 days of making comics challenge volume 4. It is a flawless victory. Thank you all for listening, and I catch you all at the flippity flop.